Living Local presents BIZ BUZZ 413 with your host, Jill Monson.
Before we get started with today's episode of BIZ BUZZ 413, I'd like to thank our first ever BIZ BUZZ 413 groundbreaker sponsor, Home City Development. Home City Development has been building better neighborhoods since 1967. Based out of Springfield, Mass., Home City believes everyone deserves a quality home because when people have a place to call home, communities thrive. As our first ever sponsor, words are not enough. And for those of you who know me, I'm not often speechless. Thank you so much, Home City Development. A couple additional quick partner shoutouts. Tiger Web Designs. Thanks for making us look awesome on the World Wide Web. And thank you to my company, Hop More, confidence coaching, training, and public speaking for emerging leaders. And of course, thank you to livinglocal413.org. Welcome to another episode of BIZ BUZZ 413. I'm your host, Jill Monson. I did take a couple weeks off. I've gotten yelled at by the fans. I didn't know I had fans, but it's pretty cool. And I'm sorry that I had to take a couple weeks off, but I was helping the old people, aka the parents. And I'm actually coming to you today from North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, North Carolina. Which Carolina is it? I don't even know. Anyway, I'm down here with them. They're on vacation. I'm podcasting, but it's made me all that much more appreciative of the 413. We got a lot of really great stuff, and in particular, really positive attitudes that I just love. So this show, if you're not familiar, BIZ BUZZ 413 is part of Living Local 413, which is an initiative. It's a nonprofit that was founded by Bill Cole. And the whole goal is to bring together Hampton, Hampshire, Franklin, and Berkshire counties and look at all the great stuff going on, the great places to live, the great things to do, and the people who are living and working in the community every day. And we made this show possible by the support of our groundbreaker sponsor, which is Home City Development. And we're super appreciative. Thank you, Home City, for being our partner on this project. Today, we are going to welcome someone that I have grown to just absolutely love. I feel like I'm an extended part of the team because I get the privilege of doing some marketing work with them and her. But welcome to Nicole Blais, who is Blazing Trails, the Chief Executive Officer, CEO of HCS Head Start, which is Holyoke, Chicopee, Springfield. Can you guys give her a big, warm, Living Local BIZ BUZZ 413 welcome? Hi, Nicole.
Hello, Jill. How are you?
I feel like this has officially made us have every part of my life connected to you. Like I just had to get you on the podcast, and now you are officially a part of every.
The circle is complete.
So I think that there's probably some listeners, some of my apparent fans, which is pretty cool. But some people that are listening who are like, what is Holyoke, Chicopee, Springfield Head Start? And so I just thought I always like to start with that, real kind of high level information about the organization and who you serve and just sort of what makes your approach different than what people maybe think is traditional either early childhood programs or even what they might lump in with daycare. So can you kind of give us that high level?
Sure. Thank you. So Head Start, the description is in the name of the program. We are really trying to give children a head start in school and in life. We began in 1965, and it was really
wow.
Yes, I know. So for a long time, we've been doing this work, and I think Head Start has really taken a very comprehensive approach to the work. And so working with the little one, but recognizing that we can't do much if we don't find ways to include and engage their parents, caregivers, whoever is taking care of the little one. So we, when we say comprehensive, that's what we mean. We do obviously the early education for the kiddos, but we also are equally interested in making sure families are engaged and connected as their child's first teacher, but also engaged and connected to the communities in which they live. And so we're doing lots of focuses on health and mental health, nutrition, all of those things, in addition, of course, to helping children get ready for kindergarten.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's staggering because there is this first of all, there's a misperception that HCS Head Start is daycare. And I can tell you, I've been in the centers. This is the furthest thing from daycare. I mean, they're providing care for your child, but it's lesson plans. It's fully thought out educational and wellness based learning. And I think that that's that key piece, right? Is it's this whole person. And so I want you to kind of tell me a little bit about when somebody thinks of early childhood education, they might just think of what goes on in the classroom, numbers, letters, colors, those kinds of things, which are obviously super important. But you guys, you talk about, and you just mentioned that the whole child. And I like to say whole child, whole family, because
Yes.
you're really doing it all, right? So talk a little bit about where you see that you're taking the services, not you yourself, although you've been there 150 billion years, but your team is taking it above just in the classroom. And just give us a little example of what that looks like, whether it's like the dental or, the nutrition part, some of that.
Yeah, right. So we're definitely looking at all aspects of healthy development. So obviously the cognitive pieces with the education, the social emotional pieces, making sure that children can share and they can take direction from another adult besides their family. So we're working on all of those skills, and then we're making sure too that there's the school home connection as well, Jill, as you mentioned. So we're kind of bringing all of what you think about a child needs. So we're making sure they have a medical or dental home so that they have access to a nutrition, a dentist. We bring in, we have a wonderful program called Mobile Dental where we're bringing in dental hygienists to do cleaning of children's teeth, educating children and families about the importance of baby teeth. And so we're bringing, services into the classroom again, because we know that healthy children are ready to learn. So we're thinking about all of those different pieces. We have great family engagement opportunities, family fun nights. Which Jill, you've seen some things in action. We do a lot of work too with dads or father figures, and bring families in. Yeah.
Can I interrupt?
Of course.
Can I interrupt and just say that is one of, not that, I mean, I love so much about what you do. I've been to the mobile dental, and it's, first of all, just the cutest thing in the world, because these little tiny humans are about, I don't know, yay high. And, you can visualize my hand, right? And they have these, they give them these little fun sunglasses and this big stuffed animal. And it just, it takes away the fear of going down the road to the dentist. So that's cool. But what you do with what you guys call milk events.
Yeah. Are men involved in the lives of kids? Yes.
Tell us just an example. I mean, you've been to a lot of the milk events and they do all sorts of fun things, but tell us one that just near and dear to your heart, because it's such a great program.
Yeah, well, I love, the ones that we're doing now with the book, It's Not a Box, and where, these wonderful creative art pieces show up at the site. So dads and father figures and their preschooler will kind of take an ordinary box and make a beautiful creation out of it, and proudly, bring it to the center, or doing it at the center together, and, just spending some quality time, making a memory, having a great time using, the children's imagination. We've had cars, and we've had a number of doll houses, you name it. They have created it. We've also done pumpkin carving. We've made scarecrows, bird houses. Just a way to remind fathers and father figures of the important role that they play in their child's life. And as an early education and care program, helping to create long-lasting, memories for our preschoolers. And that's a wonderful way, those hands-on activities is a wonderful way to do that.
Like a swing the negative, Nicole, and I don't mean it to, but I think it's important for people to understand, you serve a population that has a lot of stuff going on, and not that everybody doesn't, but there's a lot going on. And one of the questions I wanted to ask you is, what are some of the biggest challenges that families are facing right now that people might not see from the outside, some of the families that HCS serves?
Sure. Well, Head Start was designed originally for vulnerable children, and meaning families who fall within a certain economic category. So we are looking for families who are living within or below the federal poverty guidelines. And so, just with that, there are some challenges in terms of being able to access good, safe housing, food, all of the things, one needs to ensure they have that they're thriving, and things
Right.
that some families, might take for granted. So that's so that's it. It's really a program that was, again, designed so long ago, but it was to make sure that children, regardless of their backgrounds, had access to a high quality early learning experience before kindergarten. So when the kindergartners, showed up on the first day of school, children, from families who might not have been able to afford an early learning experience before school, that there's no gap. There's all the children arrive ready to go. So we have families who are experiencing homelessness. We really try to work with children who are in foster care, and to really make sure that we are finding hard to reach families.
Yeah. And I mean, if you think about it in our community, and it's unfortunately, I think that that number is becoming bigger of those who are struggling. I mean, if you think just right now alone of gas prices, and, so gas prices are, they're not like just somebody who has a car. Gas prices affect how much your groceries cost, how much, the school supplies cost, all the things. So every family is feeling a bigger burden, but those who are potentially in a bit of a lower socioeconomic area are feeling that burden even heavier. And so it's so important that people realize that Head Start is there, not just in our community, but across the country, nationally, to help serve, because the numbers are like tremendously positive. And I don't know if you know them off the top of your head, and I'm not expecting you to, but I know I've looked at the data, and it's like a child who goes to a Head Start program or any access to early education, what it gives back to our economy as they go through school and then graduate and become part of the workforce, right?
Yeah, like that. Well, because we're investing in our best commodity, right?
Right.
We are paying attention to the return on investment in terms of, it's like for every dollar spent, you receive $13 back,
Wow. Okay.
into the
Yeah.
community. So because again, we're setting up children and families for success. That is our goal. And we know that if children have access to a high early learning experience and their parents are engaged in that as well, we know that children are more likely to complete high school. They're more likely to have healthy habits, and nutritionally and otherwise, and children are more likely to enroll in college and or complete some type of post-secondary
Wow.
education. So we know that investing early in the early years makes a lot of difference. And so we recognize that we utilize federal and state dollars to do this work, and so we try to be really good stewards of that, and make sure that again, when kids show up in kindergarten, that they're ready to go, and parents who have been involved at the young age usually stay involved throughout the child's educational career.
So we are actually, it's funny because I wish I try to air the podcast usually on Thursday. So here we are towards the end of the week now, and the week's almost over, but it's a really important week, which is why I wanted you on today, because this is the week of the young child. And so there's things that have gone on all week, but I wanted for somebody who's like, what the heck is week of the young child? Like, what is it about? So can you tell me a little bit about what it is and why it matters so much that we really use this, what's left of the week, to recognize this special dedication?
Yeah, so for many years, lots of professionals in this world, in this early ed profession, really gathered together and, within our programs and in the community to do things that just highlight, our most important citizens in our communities and our children who are, birth to 5. And it's just to kind of, again, bring awareness of the support and services that our little ones need, and kind of just celebrating, all of the work that is happening on behalf of young children in the community, and just making sure that the communities know about the work that is happening with young children in the early ed and care space. So we just kind of, celebrate all of the work that the teachers are doing, all of the learning that is happening in the classrooms. And so just find fun ways to celebrate that throughout the week.
I love that. And a huge shout out to, I think it's like over 200 people that make Head Start operate, from, transportation and the nutrition team to the mental health, and social work teams, to the teams that go in. There's the, Head Start at Home program. So they're going into the homes to work with this age group and do stuff with the families. And then you have, obviously, administrative, and then all of the teachers, because I think the teachers are the ones
Yeah.
people immediately think of, but there's like, you have literally an ecosystem of a team. If you're pretty, I would say, a pretty exceptional leader, which leads me to this kind of big deal that just happened. You were just named the Massachusetts Head Start Association 2026 Leader of the Year. So, first of all, congratulations. I've told you for a long time, I think you're exceptional. But I wanted to ask you, you've been with Head Start a long time. Now you receive this
Yeah.
award and you hate recognition.
Thank
You hate being the focus. I know you. What does this particular honor, amongst any that you could get, but what is it about the MHSA 2026 Leader of the Year recognition that, what does that mean to you personally, to Nicole?
Yeah, I mean, it is, I guess a little embarrassed. But it was a very nice honor to receive. My staff, unbeknownst to me, nominated me for this award, and yeah, they got me good.
I got a phone call. I got a tease phone call. They're like, "We're gonna tell Nicole she won," and I was like, "Oh, she's not gonna like that." They were like, "We're gonna videotape it." I was like, "Perfect. I love that."
Yeah, so they definitely got me. I was very touched. It was very nice. Because I don't do this for that kind of an accolade. But so it's hard for me to accept the compliment, I
I
guess. And
know.
so it was hard for me to, but I was very, it was very nice. And it was nice to receive the award among my peers across the state of Massachusetts, who are working in the Head Starts across the state. There are 28 Head Start programs across the state of Massachusetts. And so it was nice to be among my colleagues to receive the recognition. And it's like I've come full circle as a Head Start kid and now, a Head Start director.
Yeah.
So just is, just a little validation of, you're doing the right things and
Mhm.
moving the program in the right direction.
Well, and here's the thing too. You're since I've known you, you're so humble. And I love that about you, but I also I've seen, as an outsider looking in, how you lead. And I've seen that this award, this recognition, was so much more than just the you had to give it to somebody. I mean, and I know you blush, but Nicole, you lead in an exceptional way. And I think that I'm very grateful that you were recognized for that. One thing I wanted to ask you, leading an organization that's doing incredibly meaningful work, and having led that organization during the recent government shutdown, when funding was stalled for your organization, as well as leading through COVID and the pandemic. I mean, you took this role on, after being with the organization for a long time, but you took this role on, and like, if it could have happened, it happened under your leadership, and you're still going, and you're thriving. But how do you, Nicole, personally, how do you stay grounded and sort of energized when all of these things just keep happening that are beyond your control. But what is it that grounds you and energizes you?
I mean, I think it's having a great team. Um, because again, I don't do anything in isolation. And remembering what it is that we do in terms of our mission helps to ground me. And, going down to see the children in the classrooms when, we're in the business of play, and, remembering that and using our imagination, and what the children are experiencing in the classrooms downstairs. They're experimenting, they're innovating, they don't even realize it when they're building all of these, buildings and towers with blocks, and then knocking them down and starting all over. So just kind of, playing or holding on to some of the things that are happening in the classroom, and, thinking about how we can incorporate, play in our work, and curiosity and wonder, to kind of, keep moving forward. Because, it has been a tough few years, and I feel like just waking up every day and saying, okay, let's go. One more day.
I think tough is like the complete understatement of the century for what you've had to navigate through, but you've done it. And one of the things I wanted to, I have two last questions because I've already gone long, and too bad. But we've heard a lot of the opportunities that are coming out of, the program for both the children and their families, any, caregiver, parent, whoever that might be. So we've heard a lot of the opportunities and the growth. There's challenges going on within not so much within the world, like we talked about earlier, what the families are facing, but there's challenges within the organization. And I wanted to ask you about those. And in particular, if you can mention anything that you want, but one of them is, some struggles around recruitment of future teammates and team members. So talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we're paying real close attention to building an invested workforce. And we know that, recruiting and retaining qualified educators is a challenge. There's not a lot of qualified early childhood educators out there for preschool, and or especially for infant toddler. And so we're constantly trying to think about ways that we can build our own workforce. And so we've been experimenting with what we are calling tomorrow's teachers, having a paid internship type of position for folks who might not have any experience but are curious about doing this work. Having them come on board and going on this professional development track. That's about 18 months, but at the end of that, they will be lead teacher certified. And we have this wonderful opportunity coming up with Mass Hire, along with two of our other sister partners, the YMCA and Square One.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we will each be able to have some apprenticeships.
Oh, very cool. Okay.
Yeah, so we're excited about having the early childhood educator be classified as an apprentice. Similar to like when we think about the trades, so we think about people going through an apprenticeship. And so we're kind of going to be doing that on the early ed side, and working with our higher ed partners in the communities, Springfield Technical Community College and HCC, Holyoke Community College.
Yes.
While we kind of put this learning experience together. So we're committed to kind of doing that. Also, historically, Head Start has been a natural kind. We've always been designed as a 2-gen program, meaning, we're working with families just as intentionally as we're working with children. And historically, our staff have about a quarter to a third of our staff have been past or current Head Start parents.
That's the coolest thing. I love that.
Yeah, so they volunteer in the classroom. They kind of like it. We put them on this professional, development plan, and we've had people, who have started as a volunteer and now have their bachelor's degree in education. You know, it might have taken 5, 10,
Yeah.
15 years to get there, but,
Yeah.
you know, we help staff, you know, reach their professional development goals too. Sorry for my email dings. So
No, but I think I mean, and that's like, I want people to, if somebody listening or someone that's listening that knows someone that could have an interest in this area, also considering go to the website, because the jobs, there's different kinds of jobs within the organization, and get, your, if you will, the foot in the door, start to understand more about the organization. Because once you're inside and you express, whether it's to Nicole or to other, leaders, you say, I have an interest in furthering my education in this field. I know, and I've talked to so many team members who are like, oh yeah, I started as a mom and now I've got this role. Or, I mean, I want to say, I think it's like, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting her. I want like somebody, maybe CFO, no, that's Cynthia. Janet, I think Janet started, didn't she start like as like
Janet, our COO, she started as a parent. She had 2 of her children at our site in Ludlow many moons ago.
It's amazing.
So there's countless stories of internally and across Head Start's history nationally, where there are, I'm also an example of my mom found a Head Start in Ludlow many moons ago. You wouldn't think that you would remember all of the things in preschool. And I remember circle time, and one of my teachers played the guitar, and I remember my cot, there are, such strong memories, that you have with you that sometimes you don't really think about. But, in terms of how community organizations and or programs have really helped support families, from birth to all the way through. And so how we really do need to rely on one another, to build a sense of community.
Well, if I don't let you go, because I mean, I consider the fact, I guess, that since I didn't have a show for a couple of weeks, that I get to have you longer. So that's my excuse. But I do want to ask you, just in closing, what final message do you want to leave? Whether it's, some story or some, something from your experience at Head Start, or if you just want us to share a general message for people about early education, what do you want people to know before we go? And then I'll give them your website and your, contact information in the notes. But what do you want people to know?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much, but I do think it's, the importance of having a young child have an early learning experience before kindergarten. How important that is to set children up for success. And so, to really, think about even, your individual journeys too, and kind of what organizations kind of helped you get to where you wanted to go to. And, that the early learning is so critical and so important and worth the investment.
Well, and it absolutely is. And if you're like me and you don't have kids and you are, you've listened to the whole podcast and you're like, but still get involved. I mean, they take volunteers. And for me, it's been such a great experience, because I think like I'm an employer with a small business. And I think like, I want these children to have all the things that Head Start is giving them, so that when they come to me, they're ready. And so I can't thank you, the entire Head Start team, enough. Nicole Blais, everyone, Chief Executive Officer of HCS, which is Holyoke, Chicopee, Springfield, Ludlow, Head Start. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thanks, Jill. Always a pleasure.
And this is Biz Buzz 413. I am your host, Jill Monson. I do want you to know that we do have lots of opportunities. If you want to learn more or share an idea about somebody to be on the show, or maybe it's you, please email me. You can do so at BizBuzz, which is 1 Z and then 2, BIZ BUZZ, BizBuzz at livinglocal413.org. Thanks again to Home City Development, our groundbreaker sponsor. And before I let you go, let me just leave you with the reminder that is even more evident as I am sitting here in South Carolina. I keep forgetting South Carolina in Myrtle Beach. And it's beautiful. It's an ocean. It's gorgeous, but it's not home. It's not the 413. So when you go to bed tonight and you wake up tomorrow, remember that I personally think you are doing so in the best part of the United States. Have a great day, everybody.
Biz Buzz 413 was brought to you by Living Local.